Mork calling Orson. Come in, Orson. Mork calling Orson. Come in, Orson. Hey, Christos, paging Christos de Leopolis to the panel. Christos to the panel, please. What's happening? Benton here. It's my distinct honor and privilege, and damn near feels like my duty to address you fine folks here today. Shout out to two in the live already, as I anxiously and almost while biting my nails watch the numbers. Yes, Christos. Perhaps Mr. Christos would like to host the first half hour, or co-host rather, the first half hour or so of the broadcast. Welcome, sir.
Hey man,
Christos not always prepared to speak, which is fine, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm usually at work.
I do say go ahead, by the way, as I see now.
No doubt. So, I was gonna talk about this backstage, but it's okay. It's not like super, like it needs to be some secretive thing. But I know that producer Moose has been making some thumbnails. I think for Paul at times, or maybe it's other people, but I noticed people using Midjourney and other AI art generators to make thumbnails, and it's some good thumbnails. But it's like a lot of people can do this now. It actually takes a little bit of skill to get the right types of inputs to have good, clear AI pictures and thumbnails come out. But I was actually going to say, I've been working on some AI pictures behind the scenes, and I've been kind of looking at people's different channels, thinking, okay, what are some different themes and aesthetics that they do? Like Paul, the White Gorilla, OTW. I need to figure that one out, I guess. But
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Trying to make. I just want to and I don't have to. I don't care if most of them aren't accepted by a content creator, but I'm thinking I can start pumping out different ideas, different thumbnails, different aesthetics and themes for different channels out here. And if they want to use it for one of their streams, then they can go ahead. And even just making funny memes like the Jack Talcott memes that were being used at Paul's for a while. Any of that. There's a full spectrum that I could be making for people, whether it's AI photos or going into Photoshop and putting people's heads. Yesterday I forgot what stream. Yeah, it was on OTW's.
Yes.
Paul and
yes,
they were talking about the Teletubbies. How do they say it? Telecot? No. Teletubby, I think. Something they combined Talcott with Teletubby in a really good, succinct way, actually. I don't remember exactly how they did it, but that's what I'm kind of talking about here. I've talked about this before. There's a lot of meme potential, subcultural meme potential. Did you say write it down?
I said next time perhaps you could write it down.
Okay, well, for some reason your mic only caught the last bit. Write it down. Okay.
Yeah, we're fighting my connection. We're fighting my connection. Yes.
Wonderful.
Nothing I can do about that, unfortunately, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, you already know because I was in Z's. I was in Z's earlier. I put the emojis in the yellow pencil, yellow notebook, and the classic, supremacist AOK signal.
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
I'm just gonna do my
sort
classic.
Of waiting. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I was just gonna say I'll just respond to Carl with my classic. I don't take you seriously if you have the default colored block background with the first letter of your username. That's
yes.
For someone talking about meme magic, it's like
no avatar. We used to call that back in the day. We would call that no avatar. Yes.
Yeah, I guess that would. I don't know if that was a joke how you said that. I mean,
Or
yeah, no
avless,
avatar default.
AV-less, like avatarless.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would say if somebody has a sense of humor, they can decide for themselves if the message is in fact humorous or not. That's why people don't understand that Brian is actually funny, because he never prompts somebody to laugh. And a lot of folks need to know, hey, insert laughter here, right? They need that cue because they in fact don't have a proper sense of humor. It's unfortunate.
Mm.
Not referring to you, of course, but lots of folks no detectable sense of humor.
It makes hashtag autism speaks, right?
Indeed, sir.
That
Indeed.
never
Indeed.
never gets old.
Yeah. Well, as far as the AI and the creative process, I would prefer to just make my own. As clumsy and ridiculous as that may appear at times, I do like to think I have a certain style, a certain, um, look, perhaps. I don't know.
Right. As long as you're not doing the boxes like OTW.
Whatever. AI is fine. I have no issue with what. Well, what I'm saying is I have little to no issue with what the AI is doing. I understand that I have almost no. Well, I have almost no skill with. I use GIMP, which is effectively like an earlier version of Photoshop. It's a free version, basically. Yeah, I'm just not skilled with the software. Is ultimately what it comes down to. But I can use it enough to make a fucking thumbnail. It's not that hard, right?
Right. Exactly. There's some pretty good apps as well on the phone you can use for free, and you won't be making box edits like OTW did back when he was going at Paul. It was the Avengers movie, I think. It Ian's face is like one of the superheroes, and Paul was Loki telling the slaves to kneel. But when he literally made rectangle boxes and they put their faces instead of like trying to like cut out the heads and make it look somewhat feasible. No, he just said, "Oh, we're going to put boxes here and do this like we're completely inept." So shout out OTW. Thanks for going live yesterday. I'm catching up on any lore that I missed from Benton's stream last night. Or not last night, yesterday. When OTW was live, I was over at OTW's, but I did see there was a happy little stream that was happening. So you never know when that happy little stream of 2 hours may contain pivotal information and intel on the YouTube screens. So, yep. Thanks for going live early, letting me on here. I was just going to say, someone joked about producer Christos, with the whole producer Moose thing. I don't know who that was, but I figure I should lean into that a little bit. Why not? I'm always just panel hopping, kind of screwing around, As Provo Kid would put it, I am a panel bird. I'm a very majestic panel bird, so, that's why I got these haters constantly down in the chat trying to throw stones at me. Anyway, I asked you earlier, Benton, have you heard of, I never looked back in the chat, so I, honestly, if you responded, I probably shouldn't be asking now, but since I'm on panel with you, you know about Warhammer, that game? It's been a thing since the 80s, I think. It goes way back.
Yeah, I know it. I know
books.
it visually. Visually, I know it. Otherwise, no.
Right.
The visual
okay.
style, yes.
Salutes. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
I was only asking.
There's some cool looking stuff for sure.
Definitely, man. I always do appreciate that fantasy vibe and aesthetic to a certain degree, and I was just bringing that up randomly because it's something I kind of just stumbled into recently on YouTube. Just like the algorithm kind of started throwing the shorts and little lore videos, and I never played the game, never really read one of the books. I know there's books, comic books, little short films. Like, it's a whole universe that they've made so many different forms of to express it, and then the tabletop game. So it's like one of the nerdiest things out there, honestly. And I just remember seeing it as a kid and thinking, wow, like just like you're saying, like visually, I can remember as a kid visually, I didn't know what was going on, but I was seeing like these orcs and these dang stormtrooper looking dudes, just like really fantastical, kind of mind blowing stuff. And then we're looking at the comics and just like it reminds me of, for if anyone knows Berserk, it's an anime and manga, uh, older, a little more retro. Guts, he has the giant black sword. It's just that type of like fantasy aesthetic where things are like kind of over the top, huge weapons, like colossal weapons they might call them, like colossal great swords, and just crazy monsters, just things that really stimulate the imagination. So I think there's a great value in that whole fantasy genre, as long as you don't become like OTW, and next thing you know, you got 15 dragons in the case, and you're playing World of Warcraft. And I'm just joking. I'm just bringing up OTW again, just in case he's out there in the chat. I know he might pop in from time to time on different people's streams, but no, I love OTW, and actually, I like that he's like a former PC like gamer nerd. And I can relate to a certain degree. I'm not completely in.
Yeah.
I've had gaming PCs. I have a gaming laptop.
LAN party days, sir, for the older folks.
That's right.
LAN parties. Yeah.
I remember. Please go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
Oh, well, if you got a flow going, that's the thing is at times the technology doesn't really lend itself between the connection problems and whatever else is going on. At times this really doesn't work as a back and forth medium. Realistically, it's not there some of the time. So
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I'll be here either way, so you may as well talk while you're here. That's sort of how I look at it. Yeah,
for sure, man. I mean, I'm just organizing stuff at work right now. Pretty laid back, so I can afford to. It's a laid back day.
Nice.
Afford to talk to you while I'm just doing mundane stuff here. But man, I definitely. I downed a C4 energy drink before I came to work here, so that's partially why I'm just talking. It has L-tyrosine in it, which I'm always talking about nootropics. It's a naturally occurring amino acid that is very good for flow states. You can combine it with other things, especially. That's usually what nootropic blends do. They usually have L-tyrosine in there, but you can get it by itself, or you can buy one of these drinks out here that. And I'm not a big proponent, like, not to bring it back to OTW, but I'm not a huge proponent of energy drinks, especially Monster and Red Bull and these different Rockstar brands. And forget all that. Like, the worst I'll do is C4, which is a pre-workout, like, sports brand, but the kind I'm getting that has L-tyrosine, it's not, like, completely healthy, but it's a lot healthier than the average C4 nonsense, which is kind of like those Bang energy drinks that people were drinking for a while that claim to have creatine. Yeah, those are a mess, and I feel like C4 is kind of on par with that in the sense of just the nonsense that's put in there and the ingredients. So it's like, if I'm not going to get something that's super healthy like I normally do, that's like 100% dang near organic, like zero sugar, the next closest thing I'll do is something that has zero sugar. I know it might have some things to replace the sugar that aren't the most healthy, but as long as it's not going to make my stomach feel queasy after I drink it and I can just feel the nonsense that I shouldn't have been drinking. If it's made somewhat from like natural coffee beans, if it's pointing out certain things like that, you just have to be aware of how they do these gimmicks nowadays, and they know that people are looking for the gluten-free or the non-GMO, and they'll say some things here and there on the packaging, but if you don't look close, they could be claiming it's healthy, non-GMO. Yeah, maybe it has a few of those things going for it, but read the full thing, right? Because you'll end up finding out that this organic product all of a sudden has 20 grams of sugar, and then like 8 grams of added sugar or some nonsense. So like, devil's in the details. You'll get drawn in by one or two things that they claim are healthy, and next thing you know, you're consuming a product that's like, yeah, okay, it's healthy in this degree, but look at the full picture. You're actually not doing better. Do better
Indeed.
content.
Well, and the products themselves are designed, as far as I can tell, to cause the person to believe that they've done something healthy, when in reality, that may or may not have actually occurred, but they feel like as if they have, which is
Just like
realistically all they care about. Because they certainly don't care about health in this country, with McDonald's being the #1 restaurant. So we already know, generally speaking, the person is unconcerned rather with their own health. Generally, not speaking specifically. I mean, that much is clear.
Yeah.
So, but the person certainly has some desire to be viewed and also to feel as if they, in fact, are doing healthy things. I myself fell into that, and certainly believed what I was doing was actually healthier than it probably was in actuality at the time.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process.
So I wanted to get into this Pythagosaurus Bex. Have you noticed there's no live tab, no video tab? There's no content.
Oh yeah, I think you mentioned something about that.
I don't think I did. I think I just found this out, or maybe I mentioned it on this morning's walk and talk. Maybe, but pretty sure I discovered this morning. Yeah.
I may be mistaken. I was rewatching your thing from yesterday, or maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I caught something recently, but it doesn't even matter. It's so close to this present point in time.
Understood, sir.
Oh yeah, I hear where you're coming from. Please continue, unless you're.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had any thoughts, because I've been preaching screen capturing the live streams for a while now. What I like to do is go back in time. So I like to wait while the person's live. I like to go back in time, and then I 1.5x. The disadvantage is we get the up to date live chat, but we're in the past on the actual live stream. If that makes sense. When rewatching, but even that is sort of interesting, arguably. And then I'm trying to capture also, number of live viewers, but again, that's in the future. It's not, what I'm actually watching, if that makes sense.
Totally.
A lot of this, I just can't watch it at just regular speed anymore. It's difficult.
I understand.
Yes.
I've been watching things that I haven't been doing things like Pioneer, like over the top, like more often than not. I'm not doing all the extra stuff, but I am listening on like 1.5, 1.75. If they're not talking fast already, I'll maybe put it in 2x. But I do have a bunch of different videos and streams saved, certain segments where I'm gonna go back and like restream it, give some commentary. Because I've had multiple people say they want to hear my commentary on like people's different streams or community happenings, and I really haven't been delivering that. I've been very selfish with this stuff. It's like a once in a blue moon thing. Which, speaking of, there was a super blue or whatever the hell it's called, blue moon last night. I haven't. That's why I brought up earlier, Benton. I appreciate you. The regularity, the consistency with these broadcasts.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I was thinking about it yesterday. I need to and I talked about this before and never followed through on it. I ought to, just pick 1 or 2 days, and even if it's only just an hour at the end of the day, tap in with the people. Because the last couple times I've gone live, I've actually been very surprised who I see in the live chat. It will be a very interesting broad spectrum of different people that I've met, from back when I was on Ian's We Are Awake TV to Paul's and OTW's, everything in between. A lot of different bridges that I've built. I'm realizing, oh dang, there's still a connection here. I'm pulling in people from segments of YouTube I might not even frequent anymore, but that's the whole thing. It's creating a new wave with whatever you're bringing to the table and the people that are willing to come and commune with you. And support you and ride with you. So it goes back to the grassroots thing that we mentioned before.
Ad hoc grassroots. So, and real quick, I would like to add, for me myself, I do of course enjoy whatever the ego boost of having a lot of people in the live chat, but I enjoy the dynamic at times of kind of running a lot of people away, at least temporarily, and then sort of building it back up again in a grassroots manner, feeling my way through the content. And certainly, this is one of those moments.
I like that. Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Yeah. Thank you.
It's kind of, not to sound like Cage, but it's like alchemical what you're saying in a way.
Yeah, I think
breaking it down and
metaphysical.
Bring out of it.
Yes, metaphysics.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's that creative process. So yeah, go ahead.
No doubt. I was just gonna say, when it comes to Bex and the live tab, yeah, I think it would be cool to at least have like a couple lives people could go back and reference. But I know there are people that like to do the whole like you gotta be there when it's happening and don't leave like any lives up. I think, just in my opinion. I think
well, and let me jump in. That's where hang on real quick, Christos. If people know that all of the live streams are most likely being screen captured, then they will stop doing that, because there's no reason not to leave it up. But go ahead, sir.
True. And honestly, Benton, I'll be honest. I think it was pretty epic that you did screen cap what you did.
Oh, I have way more, sir. But go ahead. Yeah, that's a drop in the butt. What I can actually show on here, especially fighting connection issues and limited library hours, what I can actually convey to the audience is extremely limited. But I'd like to hear your thoughts. Well, now I have to train myself out of saying "go ahead" all the time. Over. Yeah, over. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah. So rotation of phrases.
Totes my goats. Wow. What was I gonna say here? Oh yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on within some of these smaller communities and like sub communities, and there's some pieces that I put together recently within the whole Peabody situation, and I'm just gonna let it be, just remain the observer and the witness. But it's like, it brings me back to the whole in a thought experiment thing. I know it's the wrong terminology. It's more like in a social experiment, in a metaversal social experiment. A lot of people I'm not gonna say we. I see people out here really putting on display a lot, and sometimes I wonder, it's like, do we forget that this is all being like captured and recorded, and even if you don't leave the live up, there might be someone like Benton or others that took the time to screen cap. So it's like, I just find it bizarre at times how freely people will just give themselves over to the theater of things, and then almost forget that there is a theater aspect. It's like an actor that gets so good at the acting. Kind of a weird analogy here. It's like they forget that they're an actor. They really fall into the role. I guess that's kind of what people do on here. They forget that this is an act. It's kind of like you said, performance. One of your streams recently. So I'm surprised sometimes the things that I hear revealed or expressed, and it's no offense to anyone, but people wear things on their sleeves. On their shoulder. Whether that's trauma or some type of complex, and so in real time we get to kind of do a what would I call it? Observation, study, social experiment on the people that we witness and the interactions that we witness, and how there are quote unquote real social dynamics, even if it's happening in the Brady Bunch boxes metaversally, that there still is value to be derived in understanding how people act. You really get an insight into specifically some individuals' minds, or just the human condition of how we all are prone to act at times, as the collective. Being able to observe those individual cases as well as kind of more of a multi-partied or just collective overview of the social dynamic. It's put on broad display for all of us, and it gets even more interesting the smaller the community. I think the more authentic you start to see the dynamic.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by all of that as well, certainly.
Yeah, shout out to In a Thought Experiment, by the way. And I will, whenever you bring up certain channels or content creators, when I am in the live chat, I will go ahead and share them. I'll just assume if someone's kind of being mentioned or talked about, you won't even have to say go ahead and share their link. I see other good moderators do that. Let's go ahead and drop a link real quick and say, here's this person.
Yeah.
Check them out. So I just think that's something that I'd like to maybe see a little more of, because you got the thing up there that says do better content. Well, it's like even the moderators in the live chats, the live chatters that aren't moderators play a part in the content. As we know, it's like a parallel world going on with the live chat throughout the streams. So moderator or no moderator, but I guess specifically, with the wrenches and being able to share things. Like I saw people the other day dropping links, but they weren't putting a caption or a little label saying, this is XYZ. Which, from the links, sometimes it'll show the name and you can tell who it is from the link. But just a reminder to y'all, I kind of said something yesterday without trying to be some type of moderator Nazi dick or whatever, but just put a caption, guys, for whoever's channel it is or what the video is, rather than people. Sometimes the URL link can be long, and sometimes people can't even read who it is or what it is, and it's just like a mystery link, or maybe not mystery link, but you can tell it's YouTube and whatnot. But yeah, just it's good to define things a little more and not just kind of throw a link out willy-nilly, let people know what that link is or if it has to do with who or what was just being spoken on. I think it kind of just comes down to, having some level of cordial professionality, doing things in a manner.
I do the part
in respect to
real
the
quick.
host.
Real quick, Christos. I also sometimes do the part where I'm hurried in a hurried fashion. I just copy and paste the link. Then I look at it and I realize, well, people may not know what in the fuck is that. So then I type into the comment what it is. Then I again copy and paste the link. It needs to be in one. I mean, obviously, right? But it's not my job to tell people that. But I myself do the part where I just copy and paste the link. I also do that. So to me, that's not even the problem. It's the problem when nobody seems to realize, hey, wait a minute, what is that link? I understand we were all talking about it, and maybe it showed up right about a certain time, but why not, right? We're all here. Might as well type in, but do whatever you want, right? Because I also make that mistake. So I think some people mistakenly attach the pain to the first time when they actually copy and paste the link on its own. That's not a problem. That's just a human making a mistake. That's expected and normal. It's the not realizing, oh, wait a minute, let me go ahead and type in what is this, and then go ahead and copy and paste the link again, if that makes sense. That's where the efforts could be directed, I should say. Could be directed. If one is so inclined, Christos, which one may well not be so inclined. And if they're not, it's an ad hoc grassroots basis. So, oh, well, better luck next time.
Yeah. It's just, it's a matter of people taking it upon themselves, for sure.
Yeah, if they don't want to, that's fine. Hell, I may not feel like it someday. I might just be like, fuck it. I'm kind of mailing these in to be fair. That's pretty much what we see.
I think it's worth me personally.
On some level.
holding myself to a higher standard, even with the small things. So it's me now, my individual case, small things like that, where I kind of affirm to myself, okay, I'm going to start, just small things, even just metaversely with the live chat, label things more, define things more. And really, this is just a smaller symptom of trying to organize the feng shui of my life, mentally and physically, where things are more defined. I can really see the parameters existing within my physical environment. And, like you mentioned earlier, writing things down, just having more structure. I'm just really redefining the structure that I have with things right now. So it's like people talking about being OCD about things. It's like, I think there needs to be a certain healthy level of, and this is like a oxymoron to say, but like a healthy level of OCD. So I should use a different wording. I shouldn't say OCD, but being very peculiar about organizing and assorting things and having things in a very specific way, I think is healthy and good, as long as it's not like you're becoming anal. And that's why I shouldn't use OCD, compulsive or obsessive and over the top and extra with it. But having a level of organization, which is going to allow you to have the best working environment. That's why I brought feng shui. It's all energetic, dynamic. So you could even break it down in a more logistical, simple way, and think about order of operations. Having things assorted around you physically in a manner that's going to suit the order of operations of things you need to do. As within, so without. Simple as that. The outside is a reflection of the inside to a degree. So these hoarders, people that are extremely disorganized, it just really speaks to what's going on within the paradigm of their mind. So feng shui is a physical thing, but like the whole point of it is it becomes a metaphysical thing. You implement and you start with the physical, but ultimately through the process, you're doing something that's metaphysical. You're enacting change on the immaterial through your action and manipulation of the material. All right, shout out Cage. I was over there earlier before you went live, Benton, and he was playing this ridiculous Canadian gangster music. I don't know what was going on. I tried to tell him we needed to stop this, at least like let Dominic Sargini on or something. Like, oh my God, I don't get it. Anyway, that was funny, your laugh when I brought up Cage. You're like, ha.
Me neither.
Matter of fact, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out Swim, someone which I met. That's what that means, right? Someone whom I met. I believe that's like drug talk, right?
And I'm not going to get into character assassination or just outright slander, but yeah.
Honk honk. Put on the clown hat. Put on the red nose. Put on your Pepe frog. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, talking about memes, Dat Boy is way cooler than Pepe. Pepe,
yeah, I'm here, man. I was having some tech issues. I always made all of my preparations as if I would broadcast from the library today, but not quite feeling up to it. So I'm still at my hovel, although I have left 2 different times already today. So it's been a full day, actually, considering how early I began it.
Now that I see this Swim character, I think I'm gonna have to make a new thumbnail of Dat Boy, the frog on the unicycle. Shout out to the frog on the unicycle.
Indeed,
Mark
indeed.
Basket.
I would have to see it. Yeah. Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, I'll go find a picture and show you. Yeah. Well, I'm about to just empty the clip here. I don't know if you're actually opening up the panel for anyone else or how long you wanted to do this, Benton. I'll stay on here with you a little bit longer, but I am going to need to charge my phone momentarily. Hashtag
Oh
do
yeah,
better
you're
content.
free to come and go as you please, sir. Yeah, you're free to come and go as you please, as always, sir. So thank you for joining. If you are in fact leaving at this time, or if you're staying, thank you for joining.
For sure.
As it
for
may
sure,
be,
man. All right, Benton. Thanks so much for letting me go on about whatever the heck was just going through my mind there, and I'll hop back on here in a little bit, probably. And salutes, bro.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here, Christos. Unfortunately, with me being on this subpar internet, so one thing about when I was talking about screen capping these broadcasts, especially now a channel like Pythagoras Bex, where not only is there's no content, there's the reality is there's no content to the point where there's not even a videos or a live tab, right? Whatever that may mean. And I would actually, at this point, I would need to go to the library and access their superior internet connection in order to use OBS to even be able to play you my screen shares, because for some insane reason, Chrome, and please don't loop into problem solving, folks. I'm not seeking any particular advice. Very few of you are on Linux in the first place, so we're not having the same computing experience on very many, if any, levels at that, with respect to that. But Chrome is unusable now because of how intrusive it's gotten with them, the amount of data they're sending back to their own servers. So it slows my whole computer down. So Chrome will play the screen shares, but I no longer even have Chrome installed. But these 3 different browsers I'm using to replace it, none of them will play the screen share with the audio for whatever reason. Although they might. That's the thing is, but it would work if I could play it off of the it would definitely work if I could play it off of the people's YouTube channel. And then if I was able to upload them myself, right? So in some way we are fighting the limitations of the upload speeds, and the library is effectively the hours are just too late in the day for me. I'm fighting intense fatigue. That's probably what I would have talked about for the intervening 38 hours. Would that be right? That may not be the correct term. But start of the broadcast until now, that was perhaps what I would have been discussing. But it's good to have Christos on. Between my connection and then his microphone and whatever lag was present, there's really realistically almost no chance for an actual back and forth. Now I will get into and I'm seeing now that this go ahead thing, that's probably in part because that's part of my own awkward, stilted, bizarre presentation, right? I'm certainly aware that other folks who may view me as some sort of potential teammate and asset in a broadcasting sense. And once again, shout out to Benton School of Broadcasting. I don't know if and I'm not saying other people are attending that school, but I'm attending Benton School of Broadcasting on some level. And then I appear to be doing that at the same time. Other people are attending broadcasting school, although perhaps they are attending their own broadcasting school. I cannot be sure. But yeah, shout out to 32 in the house. So I think at a certain point, the more I think about the human dynamics and when I've talked about, is it possible that what I've contended is that other than some, maybe close family dynamics, pardon me while I cough my way through the popcorn lung. So, part of the do better content ethos, and, Christos did astutely realize that I'm not only referring to myself when I say this, right? And that, the reality is I'm exceeding what I'm capable of, folks. Now, I'm not exceeding what I'm capable of with respect to the quality of the creative output. Please understand, I certainly don't mean that. And we can also see how quickly the wheels can fall off. But then, can I make how many episodes of a broadcast, or in a series of broadcasts, debatably, if that's what this is, can I make about, let's just break the fourth wall and I'm going to do most of the broadcast about my creative process. It's a bit, I don't even want to characterize what that looks like. But looking at the notes here, let's see. Dare we do this? Analyze that handwriting, folks. And one of the few times that I chose to provide information to the local authorities, I was out and about in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and apparently some weirdo, probably who wasn't socialized properly with respect to the opposite sex, especially attractive college girls. Well, guess what? I went to university and I dated, college girls, and have since then to some extent, although not very much, but it has happened. I don't want to digress onto that right now. Doing better content. Do better content. Doing that now, hopefully. Ultimately, the audience is the judge. No, I'm not okay. I'm seriously ill, but I've been seriously ill literally the entire time most of y'all have been listening to me. Although some folks, I had the same issues, but it hadn't reached its manifestation. Now, we're not being morbid, Yeti Life. This is the reality of the situation. Is that I'm seriously ill and experience great high levels of fatigue on a daily basis, and it's been that way since I went through my 3 weeks of nightmarish alcohol withdrawals well over a year ago now. What's up, OTW News? Good to see you, sir. And I realize I sort of sidetracked my own point there, but I think a lot of times by the time I sidetrack, it seems like perhaps the point has been made well enough that the audience could fill in some of those gaps. But we'll pause here briefly to see if any of that returns to the fore. Oh, yes, the notes. It's the handwriting. Apologies. Handwriting story. Provided a handwriting sample to the local authorities. So, and part of this is that I'd made a nuisance of myself at various times, and I had not yet gone to a full policy of just treating while not necessarily respecting what the officer is up to and the various, law enforcement in general, but respecting that this is a human being, allegedly, and, respecting at least the authority that it seems to think it has, right? While, strategically maneuvering everything that I can towards whatever my desired outcome may be. So, they took the opportunity to start asking me about apparently some bozo was leaving notes, graphically worded notes, where the college girls might come upon them on these benches by the, like the jogging trail, the fucking greenway or whatever it is. Fayetteville, Arkansas, apparently has been named like the best fucking greenway system in the country. I call bullshit, but wonder what RT thinks. What's up, RT? Good to see you, brother.
Hey, what's going on?
What's happening? Chilling, man. How about you?
Yeah, likewise. Got a beautiful morning here today. I have to say yesterday, which was the super blue moon, where once in a blue moon, that's when there's a full moon in each month, being master of the obvious, telling people what they already know. But like the super part of it is just where the moon is lower, in the sky in this time of the year than others. So, but yeah, yesterday, I woke up and like, those pesky streams that come out of jet airplanes were just all over the place. And I was thinking, oh my God, what are they trying to block? Are they trying to block us from seeing, this phenomenon? And, but it cleared up. Like I was able to check it out in the middle of the night there. It's really cool. I mean, it's, I'm always, amazed at how wonderful it is to be in the middle of the night, and then with a full moon and a clear sky, it feels like there's a spotlight. It's really pretty cool. I mean, it's, you get a little giddy like a kid, like it's a wonder, like what a natural or whatever you want to call it, wonder to be able to do that. But today, it's like, how can that be? One day it's like, that the air traffic patterns are pretty much consistent, on a weekday, a Wednesday versus a Thursday. But like one day it's everywhere and the next day there's nothing. I mean, it just blows my mind, man. But anyhow.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I've talked about before that whoever, whatever is administrating this system that I have characterized in specific ways, certainly the human psychology is so well understood that, I would attribute a lot of that to keeping the populace off balance in various ways. Persons like yourself or myself who may be, actually be somewhat tuned into things to always, just when we think we figure out where the thing's going to zig, then it zags that way and it's gone.
Right. A few years back when it started, you hate to use that old cliche, and I won't, but it's like when you start becoming aware of these types of anomalies or deceptions or whatever. And I know, Benton, you've been doing that for many, many years, but a lot of us, were kind of like later in life, before sort of the light bulb went off and you started like, oh my God, that is screwed up. Politics is bullshit, or whatever your deception of choice for that day or month happens to be. You start realizing like what you had believed to be true because it was presented in an authoritative way, and there was no reason for you to ever have doubted it. All of a sudden, you start scratching at it. It's like, holy crap, this has been bullshit the entire time. So when I kind of became aware of like these trails in the sky, and I'm not going to keep talking about that because it's boring content for the audience or whatever, but like when I first started seeing that, and I realized like we live our lives just like with our heads down. We probably but like humanity as a whole, at least in the Western world, we have our heads down, and now especially, everyone is kind of looking down at their phone no matter where they go. So your head is, and your vision and your awareness never really lifts up to the sky. And then when it does, when I was even like, I would be going for walks and I would see people and the skies would be streaked, and I'd say, what do you think of that? I'm just and it was like, oh yeah, that's just normal. That's just normal. It's like, wow, okay. I guess it's going to be very difficult for some people to steer away from like the official narrative and to look at it as something else. But I'm with you, Benton, on that. There's no total pattern to it, and so its purpose probably is to get people who are sort of in the awareness category sort of knocked off your heels. Like, oh, you thought you knew about something, but how about today? You don't see anything. So how does that fit into your little description or your little story that you're weaving in your head about what's going on, But Ben, I joined a little bit late here, but I caught when was there a topic of discussion that you and Christos were talking about, like, these live panel shows or whatever you want to call them, and then what's going on sort of within the conversation in the boxes, if you will, versus like down below in the chat, and how I mean the chat truly, the participants of the chat can truly develop other lines of thinking that and I get it, like if it's going off on a tangent that's bringing up a topic that the host of the channel is like, look, I told you my few rules, and going off the deep end on this topic here on my channel, I'm not going to allow it. So just get that off the table. I can totally get that part of it.
You ever been to a square dance, RT?
I have to say,
so let me bottom line this for you, RT.
Okay, yeah.
There's two types of people. type that can go to a square dance and be right at home and know exactly what to do, and those who can't. And if
Right.
you're confused by the live chat, that's a square dance, and you can't go to the square dance and just know what to do.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
No, it's right.
They're doing a thing that not everybody is or can do, but I would say anybody can figure out how to derive some enjoyment and dare I say satisfaction from reading the comments. But some of that comes with the development of the thick skin, which certainly, I'm quite thin skinned. So what little bit of hide I have, I've developed over time. So not getting triggered by just the general shittiness of the chat at various times.
Right.
That's more or less baked into the cake. Just a general.
But there was some some back and forth of like just I mean there is total value, and it doesn't necessarily lead to like a 1-to-1 ratio or something, but there's some living and breathing that occurs when you then have these other people that are sort of something that's said with these boxes might generate a thought that gets thrown out there, then others respond to, and it's like it really shouldn't be viewed as like when the subject matter sort of goes momentarily offline with the topic at hand, if you will. It shouldn't be viewed as some sort of derogatory, or people are losing interest in the subject matter in the boxes, or that the host is presenting or whatever. It's really just almost like you can't put a lid on something when it's like this creativity or this thought process, when you have all these other people involved, kind of like, it's almost like a water cooler, people around the water cooler while the boss is up there making a presentation to his VPs. Or that's a very bad example, but you get the idea. I've been on some, like when a channel that like their main goal is to, they'll have some live shows, but it's just them monologuing, and then their videos are them doing videos about a subject matter or shitting on somebody or whatever. We all know those kind of presenters. And so when those presenters then like have a premiere of a video that they are, have great pride in, and, they think it's like, mind-boggling information, which is, yet to be, it's like, let the jury decide or whatever. But like, I've seen they'll do this premiere, and then, the topic will come up in the live chat, and then the people are doing a little back and forth, and it might be like this channel host who's doing the premiere is active in the chat too, and this person will actually tell the people like, please pay attention to this presentation. It's almost like, look, you can't do that, but you cannot force it, because then now they're going to go, well, fuck that. I know it's human.
Yeah, that's an autistic person who doesn't know any better.
Yeah, maybe
most
so.
likely, not to excuse their behavior, but
right.
Yeah, clearly that's insane. Why would they even?
Very, very well could be Benton, or it could be.
It shows
like someone
where people are very stunted socially.
Yes, or they have such a high opinion of what they're presenting that they cannot tolerate if the students in the classroom stop whispering in the back row or something, like more of an authoritative, like, listen to my wonderful thought process and presentation or whatever. But hey, one other thing I wanted to chat with you about at some point. I mean, I guess this is as good as any. I really appreciate you letting me join on here.
Yeah, man.
You've been very candid and open in sharing sort of your journey and the physical issues that you've been dealing with and so forth. And I was just we're all mortals, and none of us get out of here alive, as they say, at least in the physical body. And so the older one gets, the closer, the more you're faced with your own mortality, and especially if you have, like I've had, a parent that passed away, and aunts and uncles. I'm not of that age where the next thing you know, there's very few of your the older relatives that you used to look up to. They're long gone, and therefore you're facing, with age, you're forced to face your own mortality. However, I think with you probably have been forced to face it in a different way or a different time zone. And my question, I guess, I don't mean to pose it like a question. Like, I'm not interviewing you. I'm just curious. Like, for you, being faced with just recognizing, your own mortality, how has that changed you, or if it has? I mean, or do you just like, hey, I've always known that, this is no different, I'm just enjoying the ride, whatever timeline I have. I'm just always curious to see how other people kind of deal with that, very important part of life, which is like, it isn't going to last forever. So, how do you deal with the end, and one more thing, I think we all saw, like, over the past 3 years, of how scared people in general are about death and dying, because they would do absolutely anything, up to and including forcing other people to do stuff they didn't want to do, just because they themselves were having a panic attack over the possibility, fake or whatever, of them dying. The fear of death drove people to do the most horrendous and outrageous things to other people, in my opinion. So that's where, it seems like it opens up a window of, like, what is this person really all about? How they kind of handle that concept of, your life is definitely going to end. Your physical life is definitely going to end. Now, what do you do with that while you're still alive?
And that's been true the entire time.
Oh yeah, sure.
And that's been true the entire time, sir. So I would respond to what you just said by saying, what type of fool, knowing such, would live any other way? So the fact that you're assuming things have changed in my view and how I interface with the concept of death, that hasn't changed whatsoever.
So that answers.
No, you're projecting that onto me because you haven't resolved this within yourself. I resolved it long ago. It's one of the first things I ever did.
With all due respect, I'm not projecting. I'm not projecting.
Strategy.
I'm not projecting.
No. That's how psychology works. See, we've turned projection into a negative and a pejorative. It's played as a got you. I'm not saying it in that. I'm saying it in the actual clinical sense. That's how our psychologies work. So if you are at an earlier stage of dealing with your own, how you relate to the concept of your own mortality, which, lest we forget, is always personal to you. So on some level, I can't even address whatever that is, and vice versa. You see, but in this, I want to challenge all the smart guys. See, y'all haven't considered all this very basic shit, and here I am. I'll break it down in pedantic, excruciating, autistic detail, sir.
Please,
but y'all aren't. Hang on, y'all aren't wired for that level of interrogation of the basics. So you skip it to your own detriment and to everyone's detriment. Ultimately, I would assert. It's okay though.
Well,
I forgive you for this.
But
you do see the foolishness of attempting to discuss such arguably important matters without a proper examination of the matters themselves.
Well, I guess I just took when all this stuff was going on, I had no fear of that at all.
They had no fear of it either, sir. See, that's another basic point you've never wrestled with. I've wrestled with all of this, sir. Nobody was scared of them getting it. That's false and wrong. Can you find what's true?
So the people that
nope.
So I am lost.
Stop.
I am lost.
They feared their families. Stop. They had no fear that they would die of the thing. They feared their loved ones would die of the thing. So now you, them, and everyone else must behave in irrational, specific ways that will certainly not protect anyone's health and will most likely make everyone's health worse. We must do that so that they don't have to feel like their loved ones will die at any moment. While the reality is, for the entirety of everyone's existence here, that's been in play, the death of their loved ones. It's called The Denial of Death. It was a Pulitzer Prize winning book written by Ernest Becker and some other fella. I've read it. I'm probably the only one in these streets that has. And it's certainly not the end all be all, but if you've read no books and I've read one, I'm pretty fucking far ahead of the game, because you can't divide by zero, partner.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, I certainly interacted with a lot of people that they themselves, they were concerned about their own, you know, mortality during that, you know, so-called period of craziness.
Well, facing it perhaps for the first time.
Yeah, maybe
perhaps facing their own mortality for the first.
All my experience, though,
see, it's important to be specific with not populace is existing in a literal fantasy land where on some level they fantasize and actually secretly believe that they in fact will never die. That's what the book's about. Now, it doesn't make the book right. Doesn't make the book right. Hang on, RT. I'm only ever viewing these dynamics in part through that lens. So what you're doing is I took us there contextually. You've now taken us out of that context. What I'm saying is, actually, sir, it's always in that context. So here it is yet again. We've presented the context. So just as the context is attempted to shift away, people do that with their own view of death. Oh, here we're faced with it. Can we shift away the context? Can we move the context farther away from ourselves? Each and every time when a human's able to do that, they tend to do that. So I'm asserting that as far as the masses are concerned, many of them have never come face to face with their own mortality. And so if the fake pandemic represented that for some cross section or portion of the populace, then what I'm asserting may very well have been the case, that they are confronting that for the first time in their lives, which has nothing to do with whether or not I had up until that point, because I certainly had, and had fully accepted mine long ago. Now, obviously, my own interface and interactions, obviously the way in which I interface with those, it's now different because I have a visual reminder that wasn't there before, and then you know, contending with various, you know, factors in my day-to-day living. Other than that, realistically, nothing's changed. Other than that,
that's exactly how you come across that. It's like, you're just, it's crystal clear that it isn't, you know, anything that's different within you. And that's kind of like where I was going. I said, was there any, you know, did it create a change? Because I don't know your total history, or is it just, no, it's business as usual. I'm living my life like I always would have. It doesn't matter. And I agree. I agree 100%. I'm kind of, that's a shortcut, but I agree 100% that people think they personally will live forever unless they, you know, get knocked back in reality, because that's a fantasy world, you know. And that's a very good point, that the people were sort of fearful of, be it their relatives or maybe them or whatever, but like, it was all about like, I need to just defer because and do these things because I'm going to live forever. So I've got to do these things in order to live forever. You know, like even the craziest thing, you know, that one of the craziest things that took place during that whole period was in these, you know, care homes for elderly folks that need, pretty much 24/7 care or whatever, and the clamp down, like these people are basically dying, right? They're at death's doorstep, and yet they were prevented from seeing family, to protect them from dying. And that was the most ridiculous fucking thing I think you could ever do to another human being, is to prevent them from, life's joys and relationships with people.
Despicable, to be sure, sir. Despicable.
But I'm going to get off that topic.
Hey, listen, yeah. RT, listen.
Yeah.
The reality is, if more people were like me, that shit could not happen.
Right.
But the fact is, I don't even want to live in a world where more people are like me. But yeah, if we had 20 more, 15 to 30% more assholes like me, that shit never would have happened. Because there'd be one person in any group that'd be like, oh, hell no. We ain't doing this way. You people are nuts. And just fight.
Hey, but
fight everybody to the bitter end. You just need one of those persons.
Hey, but just because
literally you won. You got one. You're good.
But just because a person that has passion,
like this,
and
listen, man, I've had to accept. Hey, this is how y'all are. Listen, RT, this is how y'all are, and this is my basis of compassion for y'all, because I'm not like this. I'm not set up for preventing people from visiting their loved ones who are dying.
I agree. That was ridiculous. It's the most outrageous thing I've ever seen. It was like it's
never
unforgivable.
Happened.
It's an unforgivable. You talk about like religion or sins. Like, to me, that's like an unforgivable sin.
The good Lord saw. Hey, the good Lord saw for 2 weeks. I wasn't really my way in. It's not ridiculous, though. There's nothing ridiculous about any of it. You can't call something ridiculous when it's standard operating procedure. This is what the people are. This is what humanity is.
Yeah. Are you still there?
Oh, my connection's complete garbage. That's just how it is.
Yeah, we're struggling. Yeah, it's almost like what's that? In a world where everyone is insane, that's the sane people that stick out and are the problems. So, I mean, that's exactly what
I'm just talking about people who can. I'm just talking about people who will say, this is wrong, we're not doing this, and I will never care what anybody says. The vast majority of the population is set up where they cannot resist the people around them intentionally trying to appeal to them emotionally. I'm not even wired to be appealed to emotionally. Once I know the course is correct, people can say whatever they want, and it's immaterial. See, most of y'all can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, just
that's what I'm saying. If more people
it lands on deaf ears.
Didn't give a flying fuck what the bozos around them thought, and just did what was right anyway.
No, I agree with you.
Just did what was right anyway.
I think
most people can't do what's right anyway. RT, they need everybody around them to placate and justify and not justify, but validate their own stupid fucking feelings. Without having their stupid fucking feelings validated, they can't act in the world, RT. That's most of you. And I've accepted that's how y'all are.
And
I don't like it. I don't like it. It's ugly. It's ugly.
One of the root causes of that is that people generally, again, this is a generalization, but they are concerned about what others think of them. You got to get rid of that. You got to get rid of that.
No,
it doesn't
people
matter.
Don't have to get rid of it. That's defeatist. That's defeatist thinking. There's nowhere to go from a thought form of you have to get rid of that. Well, if I have to get rid of it, then I've clearly already gotten rid of it because it had to be ridden of. And if it has to be ridden of, how can it be here now? Do you see the self-defeating thinking built right into the system and built into your own way you communicate with yourself inside your own head until you go in there and beat the fuck out of everything that doesn't belong in your own head? What chance do you have, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's it shouldn't say someone should do anything, but for
No,
me, I had to like
it's a
I had to
logical.
get rid of
It's
that.
a
I had to,
logical thought form.
but we
There's
communicate
nothing
in these types of
compelling me to do
fashions.
that.
No, it's not directed
Nothing
towards you.
compels me to do that. But when you say
I'm not
have
compelling you.
to, that implies that I'm compelled.
I'm
But
not
in fact,
directing it to you.
it's the
I said
opposite.
people.
I'm actually rewarded and incentivized to remain as I am. So if one has a true desire for change, one cannot change with that thought form as you stated it. So we have no tolerance for that thought form in the context of
Oh, let me just say, I
anything
had to get
having
rid
to
of
do with
being.
self-mastery or self-improvement or
I
overcoming
had to.
limitation. Because
I had to
it can
stop
never serve a
giving a
useful
shit about
purpose,
what
therefore
people
it's
thought
cut
about
out
me.
like a cancer. You
I had
chose
to
to.
stop.
You chose
I had to
to. You
stop
didn't
giving a
have
shit
to.
about
You
what people
chose
think about
to.
me.
You chose to.
Yeah.
You chose to. 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 You might have chosen out of a necessity by realizing, well, if I don't choose to do this out of a necessity, eventually I will suffer a consequence that I'm not willing to suffer. And on that basis, I recognize because of my unwillingness to suffer a specific outcome and be viewed in a specific way, I now compel myself to achieve this thing that I'm choosing to, but I'm viewing as if I'm forced to, even though I'm not. That's what that is. And calling it anything other than what it is in specific terms is a recipe for confusion and disaster in the human. And if y'all can't do that in your own brains, what chance do you have of mastering whatever this is or whatever you are?
Well, I feel pretty
Because
comfortable
I got
about
one of
what I
them in
do.
my head. Do you? Yeah, it's annoying and it's
One of
annoying
what?
and
What do you have
he's
in your
awkward to
head?
deal with sometimes. But I have one of those in my head.
What
One of
do you
me.
mean?
The way I'm
Oh.
talking to you, I have that in my head. Y'all don't have that. The ability to ruthlessly get rid of everything that cannot serve my goals
Well, I think people
in
have
order to
different
master
shades of that.
myself. That's my goal, is to master myself.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I say
other
we all
people may
have
not
our
have
own
that
way to
same goal.
do that.
The other people may not have
The
that
way to
same
do
goal.
that.
Exactly. And
But here's the
so,
thing, RT. I'm not
personal
meeting
goal.
many people who've done it. I'm meeting
Yeah.
very few people who've gone very far down that path. Perhaps you have. I'm not saying you haven't. I'm addressing those who may have not done any of that journey. If you've done it, then I can't be insulting you or even addressing you
No,
if you've done
I
it.
don't feel insulted.
Because if you have, it's within you and we can tell, and it can never be stamped out or negated or extinguished as long as you're drawing breath. So it's to your great credit.
I'm never insulted by anything you say to,
maybe.
Benton. I'm never insulted.
Oh, good.
So,
well, I'm certainly not my intention to be insulting.
No, I know.
Although at times it probably is.
No.
And I don't have all the
man.
answers. This is a specific way of viewing things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
and I think that's the appeal. You're so
yeah.
I was just going to say that. Go ahead. Go ahead. No.
Well, see, this is what I mean, though, is if people could get themselves 5% of whatever that thing is, then they arguably would benefit. Because Lord knows I'm getting me 5% of a whole bunch of things that don't come naturally to me, or just my awkward and stilted presentment in many ways. Like, dude, I am the engine. The timing of my engine is retarded in some ways. Like that's a true statement, RT. I'm special needs, borderline special needs in some regards, but I'm working in those areas. But my point I'm making is I'm working in those areas. So if I'm willing to work in those areas, other people could work in areas, one of which for most folks will be that ruthless disciplining of their own mind in spite of how they feel about a ruthless disciplining of their mind. But 5%, right? Just get slightly less bad at whatever that is.
Dip your toe
twice a week
in it.
Twice a week, force yourself out of your comfort zone, right?
Pretty soon your whole body would be immersed if you just kind of did a little bit at a time or whatever. But
none of this is advice. It's more of a like, hey, if people want to work on themselves, that's an opportunity. If they don't, that's fine. I'm do whatever the fuck I want to do also.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I think so much of it is being able to have interactions here, and especially listening to you. I mean, you're definitely a unique individual, and that's why you capture and hold an audience, and it's a lot of respect there. So
thank you.
So I mean, I certainly wouldn't describe you as you did, but I guess I can understand you kind of see yourself as like a uniqueness that you don't encounter every day.
Oh, I've proven
barely
it. No,
at all.
That is truth. It's manifest.
Yeah.
No, that it is that. I don't.
Right.
But I also view it that way, of course. But no,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Literally, that is what you just said is 100% true.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And
although apparently
you're
all
reminded,
truths are half truths. But go ahead.
No, but you're reminded of that every time you have an interaction or an exchange or whatever, that like it's like I would love if somebody could go toe to toe with me, but I'm having a difficult time finding that person.
Oh,
but,
no.
Yeah.
That's not the case for me. No.
Yeah.
No. I like the back and forth.
Oh, sure. No, for sure. I mean,
yeah, I enjoy it.
It's only when, people get all riled up, or when it becomes like a personal, insults or name calling and that kind of thing. And I mean, if an individual didn't have opinions that were, well thought out and, based on experience or knowledge or know-how or whatever, and if they didn't have the confidence to like, hey, I stand behind what I said here, what the hell, to me, it's like, that's what it's all about. And
put your name on it.
Just because somebody happens to be, passionate and, have loudly express their views and opinions doesn't mean that they're an asshole. But I know that that can come across that way, right? I mean, we all have experience where it's like, hey, don't be such an asshole because you don't agree with something, right? It's everybody, or at least if you haven't had that experience, you're operating your boat too cautiously. Get out of the harbor sometimes and go out to the rough seas and kind of test.
Indeed, I
your
think
metal
my
out
connection
there.
is pooped out. Yet
okay,
again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, my connection.
Okay. Well, look, I'm gonna
pretty sure. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm gonna peel off here and let somebody else join. But I enjoyed it, Benton, and enjoy watching your show, and that's all we can do, right? Is just keep on keeping on. So have a good rest of the day, and we'll jump on again some other time. But you take care. All right, man?
Yeah.
All right.
I think this might be him, actually. Yeah, man. Good talk. Technical difficulties. My apologies, sir. I certainly more formal goodbye. Thanks for when I get strident. That's the term for the way I was behaving there towards the end. So it's all part of the fake autism, right? Strident meaning loud, harsh, grating, or shrill, forcefully assertive, or, and in my case, and severely critical, characterized by harshness, grating. Actually, that's damn near my resting bitch face. Is stridence. Yeah, RT is a true. Yeah, he is. He's got manners. I like that, and I understand my course. And have a shout out to the audience, by the way. 27 in the house, much appreciated. And I understand the awkward stilted nature, and I'm starting to understand the go ahead thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume that's directed at me. Now, what I will say, if I could break the fourth wall, at the risk of breaking the fourth wall, and certainly as a fan of Mr. Unslaved's broadcast, but and to tie this in with perhaps what I would have talked about at the top of the broadcast. So now we have there's a term for this as far as in a narrative. Is this burying the lead, perhaps? sharing of the lead. So I am Benton's demoralizing and self-imposed isolation. So I'm certainly going through a version of me isolating myself, but it's interesting to be a human, and I'm aging in a high level of interaction with people, seemingly, right? So that up on panel, at least not a bunch at a time, because I'm not even going to be able to deal with it anyway. I can barely deal with the one-on-ones. And some of this is health related, but the idea that my nerves are shot. But I certainly don't want to use that as in endeavoring to embody the mantra, or dare I say ethos, do better content. Let me switch over to the hotspot data briefly. All right, we're back. Appreciate you. Do better content indeed. But I do want to address RT bringing up certain issues around fake pandemics and end of life, and I really don't want to get more specific. I'm done talking about that stuff, man. And you know, in the context of where RT was going and him sharing in a certain way, I didn't really feel like it was my place to cut him off at the pass there. But I'm over it. I'm done talking about it. I'm burnt. My synapses are burnt out. I lived the fake pandemic as thoroughly as I was able to, up until actually all the way up until getting the full shot of the bioweapon attack. And what I mean by that is the so-called Delta variant. And whoo, she is all that and then some, I can assure you. That certainly contributed to the decline. And going back over the notes here. Oh, and let me finish my story from earlier, if I may. Of course, probably somebody will pop on now that I'm starting to tell the story again. It's funny how that works, get into a certain rhythm or pattern. But yeah, so I was taking lots of notes at the time. As a homeless person, I would regularly go to libraries and read several books at a time and not check them out. Just go and take them off the shelves, a few hours of study, writing notes in notebooks. So they were like, well, would you give us a handwriting sample? Because I was basically just like, hey, man, that's obvious. I just basically told the cop, like, well, that's clearly somebody who's got, like, was not socialized normally. I was like, dude, I was successful with the ladies from an early age. I mean, at the risk of sounding however that sounds, right? I did just, like, I've normally developed in these areas. You got 2 ex-wives, man. And yeah, I've been on a date or two with a college gal. She asked me out. So, like, if this guy was getting asked out on dates by the college girls, do you really think he'd be down here leaving these notes? But I just kind of laughed and just tore out a page from my notebook and just gave him a random page, a whole page. I write in all caps, printed, just on whatever topic I was studying. Because There's no fucking way that bozo is like, you're not going to be able to take this. I put my name on it. But yeah, generally speaking, it's not a good idea to provide any sort of information to the cops. Yeah, Delta knocked his smeller out for a year. Yeah, mine just comes and goes now. The zinc seems to help. I got some, I've got what seems to be a decent chelated zinc and chelated copper. I think it's 30 milligrams and 2 milligrams respectively. And then yeah, just yeah, man. Certainly when I got hit, it just happened to catch me. They just happened to catch me when I was drinking, fairly heavily. This is right before I broke my foot, by the way. So that's what I was trying to tell RT. I think that the timing of my broken foot certainly that had a lot to do with coinciding with when my mom went to the ICU. So realistically, because if I just decide to go down there and see my mom, it's just what's gonna happen. So, I don't think it's a coincidence that I was more or less physically. It would have been very difficult for me to force my way into anywhere with a day 3 of a broken heel. Didn't see the doctor for like a whole week. Went to the emergency room. Then it took me over a week to get in to see, an actual doctor. The ones in Baxter County, I guess everybody was so freaked out with the bioweapon. None of them would even. They were like, no, we don't even want you as a patient. Get the fuck out of here. So I ended up going to a different part of Arkansas, actually, where it was normal life. So obviously this thing cannot transfer person to person, or it doesn't primarily spread person to person. If it's The Walking Dead in Baxter County, and then I get in my car with a broken heel and drive, and it was my right foot that's broken, or that was broken rather. It healed normally, thankfully. Praise God. But yeah, and I think that's about all I need to say about that particular ramble. Shout out to Christos. He did a fair bit of rambling this morning. And the main thing I'll say about that, and I think this is where go ahead comes in, and if that is in fact, directed at me, well, I would say, Mr. Unslaved, the more times he can find reason to poke fun at me, especially if a lot of folks have been tuning into me, earlier in the day, why wouldn't he? But I heard him say a couple of things. Unwarranted indeed, praise God. But yeah, some days I still don't have a sense of smell much of the time. Much of the time. Oh, is it? Okay. The goblin creature. Okay, good. Because but I'm realizing that I say it a lot now, and that's a part of that. My stilted and my awkwardness. And my mom, I've noticed, has the same problem. She doesn't really have any idea when it's her turn to talk, and then I, on some level, don't. But I've worked at being less awkward and less stilted, if you can believe that. Yes, it took work to get to this level of awkward stiltedness. Come on, but yeah, the Lord's given me a lot to work with, and my stated goal, among others, of self mastery or mastering my emotions. And certainly, I could have, lashed out in rage earlier. Wow, I really am lagged out. Oh, apologies. I forgot to go get on the hotspot. One moment. Dark glasses. Woody says, In a thought experiment, allusions to the esoteric are more expedient than actual knowledge? Question mark. The truther shakes the hidden hand. I don't know what you mean, sir, but I like the cut of your jib. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, and if you go ahead, and if you will. Okay. I don't watch most of these people. Yeah, show's over, folks. For all intents and purposes. Actually, let's go to some screen shares, and we'll see to what level does. Oh, wait a minute. Connect to the hotspot first. I'll drop off and be right back. Probably. Let's do this. Yes, indeed. DGW uses his thinking cap. Indeed, and it's been a valuable asset to this broadcast and a prior broadcast, as well as CBO and probably our Sunday show. We done? No, I'm just saying, like I feel like I've fulfilled my obligations. Whatever they may be, whatever I believe to be my own obligation to myself, I suppose. Between this morning's walk and talk, and then we've done an hour and a half, and shout out to Christos and RT for filling much of that time. Thank you. With their Christos a little rambly today, but that's not altogether a bad thing. But the go ahead is like kind of a realistically, what happens is much of the time strategically I'm only really left with just waiting these people out, because I'm not really going to be able to get a word in necessarily. And Christos, he's pretty, seems to, he'll sort of just plow ahead, which is, we all kind of have to do that in this format. It's certainly within the bounds of fair play. But sometimes the technology and the latency and just everybody's connection and the network's congested and StreamYard's being dumb, and some days it's just not going to be there for some sort of a back and forth. But then the other person doesn't need to, but if the more the other person can facilitate, a space for someone such as myself to, so that I can inflict my autistic speech onto everybody. Shout out to 23 in the house, by the way. But yeah, that's me. I've absolved myself. I'm tapped out. Now the do better content banner actually takes on a different meaning. Now it's like hey man, you've fallen below the standard broadcaster. So now it's going to take effort to actually. Before I was just assuming that on some level we were doing better content. Not now. Nope. Okay. I've got some content for you folks. I recorded this earlier at the laundromat. So, yeah, enjoy this. It's more me.
What's happening?
What's up?
Benton here from the
Good to see you,
Bubbles Laundry. So I better get off the property before they ask me what the fuck I'm doing. More walking talks. There's the lemmings lined up to be permitted to cross the street there and continue on about their days. I used to stay at this motel back in the day in town lodge. Probably cannot read.
Yeah, see, I don't think my connection's gonna. The problem is the StreamYard. I saved this to StreamYard
CD.
thinking I was going to the library.
I got it all.
Oh man, yeah, it's not going to work, and that's what I wanted to whine and cry about. So now that I'm not going to be able to, now that I'm no longer capable of doing better content today, pressure's off, absolved of any guilt or wrongdoing. Yeah, packed everything up, got organized, did my meal prep, and anybody that says that I don't have time to prepare all my own meals, bullshit. How busy do you want to be, or how busy do I want to be? There's days where I'm just busy all day long. Especially on some day. Oh, I streamed for 10.5 hours or whatever. Yeah, did a whole bunch of other stuff too, probably. So yeah, the illness and the fatigue, and the reality is these illnesses, if in fact we look at the Occam's razor of what most likely this would be termed by the medical system. Oh, and I never even got to work this in because there was, because of the impossibility of the true back and forth RT. I never got to work this in. And I think I forgot, actually. So it's just as well, perhaps, that will resurface yet again in the near future. She's gone now. Where was I? So yeah, I can screen cap all I want, but the reality is I need a good connection to get that to the people, and had every intention, and then it was like, what am I just going to wait? I had nothing to do for a whole hour. It's like, am I really going to wait? And then what happens when I'm doing nothing? Right now, I start to become a little more aware of, wow, I really am very fatigued. Wow, like I really am really low energy right now. Wow. Am I really going to go wait around? Am I really going to go back to my room, drop my laundry off rather? And what am I going to do? Just hang out, unpack half of the backpack, and then pack half of the backpack up, and then drive to the library and still have to wait around, or get to wait around, to maybe be streaming by 10 when it's 10:19 right now, and I've been streaming for an hour and 36 minutes. But yeah, it would be nice to be on that connection. Certainly, that would be more of an impetus for doing better content, perhaps. Go ahead. Oh man. Well, let's try the screen shares. I think are lower res. Maybe we'll have. That was I was playing that from StreamYard, and you could tell it was attempting to do a high resolution. So we'll try. We'll just experiment and see what happens here. I don't know that I'm set up for rambling so much right now myself. Yeah, I got a whole I got an entire directory, just Pythag Bex here. Let's count the files, Christos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 10 screens. Some are not very long, but yeah, I got 10 screen caps. This is from the 30th. So this one's from yesterday. Let's go to that one. This may not be as interesting and as wild as some of the earlier ones, though. And can y'all even hear this? See, I can't even hear it. So I'm assuming there's no audio. But I know I played this back and tested it. This is what I'm talking about. It's just not going to do it. It's because I'm not on Chrome, and it's just not going to do it. This is the state of computing. I can't, man. My equipment won't allow for it, and the reality is, the library hours are not going to work for me. So, if I can make it there, I can make it there. But it just wasn't realistic for me today. So here I am. So, and now I will say this: if the people would leave their content up on a channel, I think it's still better for them. I think it's better for everybody, including them, if I'm able to more easily play their content. What do they say? No news is, or there's no such thing as bad publicity. That probably is true in a sense, although clearly there is. Yeah. Rob says, thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. Well, either way, sir, as you like it, Rob. But we can play me from earlier today, lest we forget. That I can at least potentially turn the quality down to so low. We might actually be able to watch Benton Although even the yesterday Scagnetti on Scagnetti portion did not seem to go over that well either. For those who have yet to catch the walk and talk, and many folks I understand do not go back and watch the replays. I'm not watching many replays these days myself, so I get it. So will this actually work? Let me know if we get audio. Uh-oh.
Silliness. I left the motel room, my hovel, and immediately realized, oh, I left behind the lavalier microphone. And if I could get an audio check on the, I had to make sure that mic was not coming.
Yeah, I used to listen to Lycus. Gary Baxter says he finds me interesting as Tom Lycus. Yeah, I like Lycus. I feel like if you've ever heard this Mike David Red Bar, and if you have not checked him out, Gary, he might be right up your alley as well. Red Bar, Mike David. That's the name of the show, is Red Bar. But he seems to be doing some version of a Tom Lycus, radio presentment to some extent at various times. But yeah, Lycus was enjoyable, certainly. Thank you very much, Mr. Cleveland. Says I'm good on the audio.
My way. I'm always ready to cover my eardrums,
yes,
unless they get blown out by some loud motorcycle.
Carl.
And I'm liking the visuals downtown.
Carl's
I don't even really
his
want or
stamp
expect
of
to run into any folks to talk to. That's not the point, right? But yeah, if I could get an audio check. So as soon as I left the room, I remembered, oh, I've left behind the lavalier microphone. Went back in for it. Realized I needed to use the restroom. Used the restroom twice. Well, that's either good or bad, right? It was good in this case. And then left without the lavalier mic. That's just, and I have had no cannabis today. That's the state of old Benton's short-term memory these days. Certainly exacerbated by the THCO. Thank you, Razvan. Good to see you, sir. Razvan, who's been quite generous with the super chats. Thank you, by the way. I believe I'm getting my first YouTube payment end of next month. I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to work. It's difficult to confirm that with all the red tape and legalese and whatnot on their site. However, after that, I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do is all the YouTube money. Now, this may change if I decide to do memberships, which may not even happen, actually. I'm not a huge fan of how they've got that implemented here, honestly, on YouTube. But all YouTube money's to my Nana, my mother, who's talking about getting a fucking part-time job, even though she's damn near 70. That's America, by the way. That's the country we live in, folks. And, a lot of that is down to her own poor choices, arguably financial choices. Sure. And she's not blameless in the situation, my mama. But, well, and not asking for ways to receive money, Razvan. I will never, ever, ever have another PayPal account. Been there, done that. I'll have to remember to speak into the mic. Oh, a phone. Oh, my God. We've never seen a phone. A phone. We've never seen a phone. Oh, my God. A phone. We've never seen a phone. Nobody's ever seen a phone. Just the looks I get with this thing sometimes. I love it. We've never seen a phone. I'll never get used to that. Just the looks I get with this thing. It's literally a phone and a microphone and a little bit of plastic and metal to hold said. Like, just the fact that people can't understand what they're looking at. Even my own mom, at a certain point, I had this rig at her place, and we got to ask all these questions, and then she's trying to talk to my nephew about it, and of course he knows all the technology. He understands. He immediately knows what the fuck it is. Realistically, I'm talking to people my age and older that can't understand it's a phone, right? It's a fucking phone. We've all got one. So she's trying to explain to him what the whole thing. Oh, it turns his phone into a camera. I'm like, the phone is a camera. Like, see how confused we are. And then with my whatever I've got, so-called autism, I'm just like, I can't just leave it alone, right? So when the people are just looking at me all bug-eyed like I'm a fucking space alien for walking around with this thing, it's like I can't help myself. I have to call them out. I mean, what if they showed up on their motorcycles and just everybody looked at motorcycles like they didn't know what the fuck that was, right? Like, what is that? Like, we've never seen motorcycles. But that's how I feel walking around with this thing. It's like it's this brand new invention that nobody ever has had access to, and thus nobody's ever seen and doesn't know how to react. So if that step never happened. Right. I don't know if y'all ever noticed that. One of their favorite things to do. Anytime, few drivers will miss the opportunity to point their 4,000-pound, about the copyright issue. Ben's Hookah Lounge. Yeah, God's Gift. That's another really good one, actually. Yeah. My mother.
And now I got me some B-roll. How about you? Got him some B-roll footage. So now if I want to have something on the screen, I'm on the screen. And I'm talking. Yeah, indeed. Motorcycles. Yeah, and as I was explaining on this this morning's live stream, you know, that was probably just something I heard when I was a kid that sounded funny to me. Probably some older person said called them motorcycles. It just kind of stuck in my head. So it's like I'm telling myself jokes some of the time, but I don't think people are aware of that. That's what Padna is too. My dad says that kind of anywhere from menacing and deadly serious to just sort of playing around and kind of in a humorous way. It's and everything in between potentially. Power chat an option if you don't mind giving 10% to Nick Fuentes. I don't even know what that means, Carl, but I'm glad you're on it. Carl pumping out the content to some extent here of late, by the way. And I believe that's the Masonic Lodge there in the background. I believe, maybe not. No, that's not it. But there is a Masonic Lodge comes into play pretty much on all of these, actually. The one I was attempting to show you, but the quality was too high. This is Benton in 144p Benton. Yeah, I like to ride my motorcycle. Yeah. Or, you know, he bought him a motorcycle or, you know, something of that, just to matter of factly, right? Because there's not a lot of necessarily high level or really any level of discussion. This is Arkansas, Southeast Arkansas, circa 1980, right? Damn near 79. Oh, text to speech donos. Yeah, I'm just as long as I don't have to deal with hard R's. Hard R's. I've seen that phenomenon at play. Of course, I guess to some people that's half the point, right? It's like, well, if you're saying no hard R, then yeah, our money's no good here. Or you won't be getting any of our money here. But yeah, I think we're doing super chats to just give them to my mom after supposedly I get the first payment, which I think I'm up to close to $300. Although when YouTube says estimated earnings, do they then take their cut out of that, or is that what I'm to receive? So it's probably around $200 if they're going to take a bite out of me, anywhere from 200 to 250, I'm guessing. Oh, it's a lot, I'm sure, Rob. I'm pretty sure it's substantial. Yeah, I think it's close to 50%, depending on how one receives the disbursement. I believe. I'm not exactly sure. That could have been hyperbole. Did y'all see the moon back there, by the way? The moon made a brief appearance 15 seconds ago. Somewhere in here. There it is. Show up again. The super moon or whatever it was. There it is. Bam. How about you? Oh, shit. See how well I can time this. The moon in between the moon and 144p. Yep. Anyway. Love the moon. Big fan. Can't get enough. Certainly echo some of what RT was saying. You can see how uneven my haircut is. Or I can. Perhaps you can't. I've memorized the shape of my skull. Can you say the same? Looking rough, Benton. I don't know, man. Like, I see the illness. I got nice skin or whatever, and I'm lively and enthusiastic to some extent. To me, I see a motherfucker that's dying. I don't know if y'all did you not see it? No. I ain't messed up about it. Still trying to hang out as long as I can with a quality of life. And again, I have a quality of life. And we will do better content. We will do that. What? Oh, you censor the words. Okay, I see. Gotcha. I don't know anything, Carl. You know, I know some stuff, obviously, but in other areas, can I get some credit for even knowing who that was? I've forgotten what they were called now, but that certain network. Because I was like, at first I was like, no, I don't know who that is, and I was like, wait, is that the people who in the RVs with Andy Dick? So it's like, yes, I have seen their content, and I got to say, I think some of it's pretty good. I mean, I thought some of it was good. I don't know. A lot of it's trash, obviously, but I do. There is an interesting element with the, what Bluetooth speaker playing the live chat, I guess, or the super chat, the audible super chat. What's the technical term again? Text to speech donos. Yeah. Yeah. I do kind of like that element, although, God, once I get up to that level of processing, my environment and conducting a live stream, I would probably just have to have a camera person and not be directing the broadcast in that case, I would suspect. But yeah, I would need to be able to focus in to actually hear what the or will I be able to read it on the screen? I'm gonna have to know what's being said, right? 'Cause that's like it's a real wild card depending on who is in attendance. Yeah, IP2, exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's some of the. Oh, is that key? It's like Kiwi Farms. Okay. Yeah, different factions running different. Exactly. See, something about that chaos and whatever that is. I respond to that on some level. I don't necessarily fully understand it. Just like 4chan back in the day. Like I was never active on 4chan for any consistency, but I felt like I could get in there and kind of follow what was going along and maybe potentially chime in here and there in the square dance manner that I was, trying to gently explain to RT that because there's rhythms and there's a dance and, I always interpret that as, from my perspective, it was because I was on the internet and I did a lot of writing and I was doing a lot of reading and, I'm predisposed to that, to that interface, right? We got a super chat on the screen, sir. Let's get the banners out of the way. And your icon. What is this? Oh, we can't read Razvan's super chat in 144p anyway. So, yeah, perhaps he's due a discount. I don't know what to tell you, man. Should we 240? We should 240 briefly. Oh, we can only 360 briefly. He said, yeah, he wants to add to my mom's fund, which I do appreciate, but I made clear that technically I haven't even committed to that, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to. And if that it does in fact come to pass, it will be beginning after the first payment, which as far as I can tell will be the end of next month. Probably going to buy a clutch and a flywheel with that money, most likely. Clutch, a flywheel, and a throwout bearing for the Versa in lieu of, I'm realizing now I have just the right amount of equipment because more or less everything I need to have access to on a regular basis fits in that backpack, my black backpack. Where I will carry the rest of my belongings is anyone's guess. But yes, thank you, Razvan. Much appreciated, sir. Wonderful. Let's hear what Mr. Benton's yapping on about.
Internet. He is an international baller. I agree.
Razvan is an international baller.
And then it's like, how much
Shout out.
How much do I kiss up to the people who send super chats too? Well, yeah, I mean, I will, but then I will also at some point I'll probably be berating those same people. It's like, oh, he's a brown nose. Yeah, I am, but at a certain point, everybody's getting the business. Anybody can get it. Like, I know what Paul said. Oh, and shout out to Mr. Unslave. And I do notice, I don't think it's a coincidence that since I've chosen to abuse the THCO for the last however long it's been, my interactions with Mr. Unslaved have deteriorated. Not deteriorated, they just haven't been as frequent or meaningful, arguably. But then some might say, well, he smokes all day, every day. Yeah, that's herb. He's smoking herb. I'm doing THCO and vapes, goddamn synthetic cannabinoids. Totally different sport. In a way, I'm sure I could smoke flower all day too and be just fine. It certainly wouldn't put me down at 4 p.m. like yesterday. But god dang, I just went to sleep. Woke up at like 10 p.m. Yeah, but yeah, being able to make it on not much money is a skill. And then my mom has this problem where I know my middle sister doesn't do this anymore, but my youngest sister is very good at getting money out of my mama. So I'm sure that's some of it, right? I'm sure that's some of it.
Apologies for the wind noise.
Sounds like crotch rockets though. Crotch rockets.
Yeah, car needs a clutch and a flywheel and probably a throwout bearing, which probably comes with the kit, I'm assuming. I believe I can get a clutch kit that would be a bit of an upgrade for about $300 for the parts, which seems reasonable to me. Certainly would not want to. I would view this as hopefully the last time the clutch will need to be replaced while I'm using the car, at least. But it works for driving around town. I shift deliberately and do everything I can to avoid slipping it further. What? Oh, I wore the clutch out. But yeah, I've consulted with Master Mechanic EBT already. But thank you for your inquiries into this matter. But yeah, clutch probably needs a flywheel because apparently the OEM, the original equipment is not resurfaceable. So then, of course, we'll put one on that is. Yep. But what as far as physics would be concerned, I think probably heated the clutch up and combined with high revs. And although the car has very little horsepower, it's a low power car, but it's a Nissan Versa 6-speed manual, 1.8 liter with 122 horsepower. Of course, that's best case scenario. But yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting that done. Certainly want to do that before undergoing any road trips. Well, that's another thing about a clutch and a Versa. I need to be able to, on 2-lane highways, sometimes I need to be able to pass, right? I'm not going to be doing that. I'm not even going past 4th gear at this point. Yeah, man, I'm digging this B-roll. I like the B-roll. And then I'm taking selfies here. I'm thinking about thumbnails. Trying to get a background in my head and then a particular comment all lined up in a certain way. I love it, man. I'm planning on committing to the content and at the top of the broadcast talking about at the risk of breaking the fourth wall and just the broadcast becomes about the broadcast and it's like just sort of folds in and implodes like into itself, right? But yeah, me knowing that I know when I'm not doing good content. So, oh yeah, that's right. Apologies. How soon they forget. There we go. But yeah, clutch, flywheel, throwout bearing. A lot of drivetrain noise, although the tires are trash too. Top G. That certainly needs an entire new, but certainly front tires. But it also needs at least one on the back. So I mean, I got some of these Mexican used tire shops. I guess they would throw 2 new ones on, 2 newer used tires, right? New to me used tires on the back, and then. Oh yeah. I guess we'll stick with the 240 so we can read the comments. Anybody who wants to can read the comments of the original broadcast. But yeah. Ultimately the problem, Top G, is I like to drive and I'm engaged in some spirited driving. And I prematurely wore the clutch, but it's got 80,000 miles and it's the original clutch most likely. So, even with babying it and not driving it hard, it's going to need to be replaced anyway. And certainly, I have to assume it's time for the manual transmission fluid, which just the fluid is like $125, like no bullshit. Gear oil, yeah, and fucking Renault, man, coming up with wanting very specific gear oil, and in fact, the manual says to use the genuine Nissan, and I understand people are like, well, you don't have to use it. Yeah, I understand that, but it's the same fucking price as the Redline brand, which I understand is probably a better oil overall. But fuck, if I'm paying that much, I might as well. And there's nothing cheap to be had. I might as well go with what the dealership's offering, which I think is Renault. I think they get it like from Renault or Renault supplies it. Yeah, I don't regret buying a Renault. I think this is my last manual car. I do prefer a manual, but I believe this will be the last one. It's just gotten to where this infrastructure, the system itself is not really set up for, even just with me, I know how to check the level of the transmission fluid. I'm not set up to do that since I'm no longer, renting a home from a bank, right? I won't even say own a home or buying a home. But since I'm not doing that, I don't have a garage. Yeah, I used to work on my Talon, believe it or not. I did some of the work on certainly all the oil changes. But on my Talon, 91 Talon DSM, first gen DSM crew, holla. Indeed, sir, indeed. But yeah, I'm not trying to work on this one just willy-nilly in a fucking parking lot somewhere. So somebody needs to take interesting trades in exchange for, I'll procure the parts. I just need somebody that, ultimately I'm capable of such a job, but once we factor in the autism and the paralysis by analysis, and I'm not particularly handy. It's like, yeah, I'm coordinated. I have good hand-eye coordination. And that's not even considering my illness. See, I won't go there, right? I don't believe in excuses, even though I have a built-in one. It's like, no, realistically, I wasn't feeling up to going to the library. So even as I prepared and packed up all of my gear that I'm blessed to have, by the way, I'm certainly grateful to have, this level of broadcasting equipment, as poorly as I may operate the said equipment at times. Thank you for your patience. Please drive through. Thank you. Please drive through. Yeah, most def. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure what's happening now, G, is that at certain speeds and certain gears, and just what temperature is the transmission at? What's the outside temperature? Based on these various factors, I believe, and I'm no expert certainly in these matters, but my understanding is that the throwout bearing is making contact prematurely or just in a way that's not copacetic. It's making contact with the flywheel, it seems to me, which also indicates perhaps a warping of the flywheel, because I'm not convinced that the disc surface is even really the issue yet, but it's starting to slip some of the time in certain situations. And then at least one time I clutched in and I went from fourth gear to fifth gear, and it felt like I floated gears, if one knows what that means and would understand what that feels like. It certainly felt like the transmission shifted directly from fourth into fifth without that intermediate step, right? That some might refer to as a double clutch, potentially. Shout out to 19 in the house. Much appreciated. Shout out Boston Ray getting arrested on his live stream yesterday. Who is that? And is that, can I view that on that person's channel? Because even more compelling than my own B-roll with the sound muted. Although maybe my own
Gets into too deep of a sleep. Probably
my own
it's gonna be too hard to
Jack Harlow.
She said it was like just the most psychedelic, fucking intense dream, vivid. Just the brain was like, all right, we know we got this window of time.
Just really, you can barely hear my near constant
She said it hurt, seemed like
dialogue or monologue in the background.
And that's it's an extreme example, and it's me having listened to this person.
See, I've been watching Mr. Unslaved. I've been taking notes.
No longer listening to Rogan, although I would if I wanted to. Once he went to Spotify, I was like, I just knew, like, well, I'm clearly not following. He's losing me.
Yeah, a lot of drivetrain noise and
all right, locking y'all in the car. I'll be right back.
some clutch slippage. I keep seeing your comment again, Top G. I now feel like a dick for the way I answered you initially. But hell, the fact that a fella would even inquire as to what it's doing, good for you. That's some level of masculinity on display, sir, at least in some regard. So kudos to you, Mr. G. Well, I think this was a brief break while I used the restroom. And by restroom, I mean nearby shrub.
But I'm taking selfies. Taking thumbnails. Cheese it up. Cheese it up. Whatever, cheese ball. Number one used to say that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's my favorite film of all time, Jay Phillips. Welcome.
Hilarious.
Good to see you. Yeah, my favorite, and I'm not saying it's the best, certainly. I might be inclined to agree with the American Film Institute, if their number one is in fact still Citizen
go.
Kane, I might,
Well,
or I should say, I might not be disinclined. I might not be inclined to disagree, rather. But yeah, my favorite
Yeah,
film,
at a certain point, it's not that I have to
and
stop
when I
doing
chose
something,
one film to
but at a certain
work
point,
to
it's
watch
like,
in
well,
honor of my own
it's
birthday or
you know,
born
certain
day or
point, I
whatever
wasn't
we're calling
necessarily
it
go back
these
and some of my
days.
old material.
Although
But
4
I
days
remember
belatedly, I watched
my
my
dad
favorite
next,
film,
no more
Natural Born
videos, no
Killers, and I
content.
laughed out loud
Her content.
when I Love Mallory
Look at that.
came on.
Imagine.
Laughed out
They're
loud
all very
gleefully.
inspired to be sure.
What does that say
They're
about
now
me?
all very inspired to be sure.
Perhaps that is perhaps my favorite scene in the movie, although it would be
I do need a
would be
different
difficult to
comment
pick
for the
one.
thumbnail, though.
But yeah, am I my own Jack Harlow now?
Yeah. I don't know the numbers any. This is just more my specific.
Not sure
creative
quite how
artistic
loud
process,
you
which
folks
I
are
kinda
hearing
wanna
that,
when I
'cause
play
I'm
that too.
assuming I'm getting a
Yeah, I
slightly
also
different
cringe at that sort of
mix
talk, so I get
on
it.
the audio.
I
But yeah,
I
the
have the
Imagine in the background, this almost like a tourist traps,
I'm
touristy,
starting to play around
tourist
with making thumbnails, like
trapsy,
with my face, some sort of
touristy trap. I
interesting
don't know what I'm
background, and
trying
then
to
a
say.
comment, a readable comment.
Tourist trappy,
Because then, on the phone and on the
trapsy,
computer, where
tourist
it'll say like
traps,
live in 2 hours, that can cover up
reminiscent
some
of a
comments. I'm
tourist
trying to see,
trap
like, where exactly,
in the
how do I
style
make
of
a
a
thumbnail to
tourist
make,
trap.
where the comment shows up is still maximizing.
And damn near
experience. All
saw
that sort of
damn near a
stuff, right?
sideshow
That I
earlier, by
can
the
do
way.
on some level and do my own version of. And I understand it's a clickbait
Lest we forget.
platform and all of this, but the reality is, until something changes on the platform, they've already proven, as far as I'm concerned, YouTube's proven that YouTube itself
And
is,
Harlow's still talking.
keeping the channel at a certain size. Not that it would be huge, but it would be.
Kill your
probably
cam,
larger than it is
Harlow.
now. That's
Trying
where
to
you get
save
into
bandwidth.
Aphrodite whining about YouTube stealing her views or whatever. It's like, well, no, it's manipulated. The whole thing's manipulated from the jump, though, lady. Like, why is she expecting anything else?
Yeah, Aphrodite,
Yeah,
get
see,
your shit
I have
together.
no idea what to do physically to try to accomplish what I want to see on the screen. It's bizarre, man. And it's like, yeah, everybody's like that, but this is how dumb people can be.
Yeah, Scagnetti, I love it.
Who operated one of those big
Scagnetti
motors,
on
the one that
Scagnetti.
famously I
Did
got
you see
dropped
that?
out
Was
of,
one of my thumbnails the
dropped
other
onto
day,
concrete,
Jay
jerked my feet
Phillips.
up, breaking my heel,
I knew I had to do
job
the
through
Scagnetti
no
on Scagnetti.
negligence of my own.
But yeah, I like the pretty boy Robert
He was giving me a hard
Downey
time about
Jr.
something, and
or the
I was
pretty
trying to make
boy
a point
look
to him.
as
He didn't understand what I was
the
saying. And finally, I said, "Man,
TV
what you
presenter
see in the mirror is
whose
backwards."
life is
He's like,
in
"No, it's not."
shambles.
And I just looked at him, and he was like, "Oh." Because I think I don't see
Live
it.
interview with Wayne
I'm trying to
Gale.
convey to him that, man, if I'm
Just
looking in the
keep
mirror, I am not
saying
seeing what you're
that.
seeing, I promise.
Repetition
I know what
works,
you're saying.
Danny.
I'm barely sure. I know what I'm saying.
Live
I know for a
interview
fact
with
they are not
Wayne Gale.
So, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Do you
Not even like
think
people get mad at
these
me. You have to write this down?
bozos in
What the fuck?
La La
Yeah,
Land have a
remember this? You can write this
memory,
thing down.
Dan?
Fuckface. You can't write a book report. You can't read a book and then write a fucking university A paper book report off the top of your head. You know what I mean? Like how,
Testament to
yeah,
the
I understand
American
that it
cop.
seems insane to that person that I can't do that thing. It also seems insane to me, although I accept
Everybody's a
intellectually
cop
that it's
now.
not a thing. But it seems crazy to me on some level. You mean you just weren't born with the ability to do this thing that I can do effortlessly?
Now I sound like Antifa.
It's
What are you,
a
cop?
shitty attitude, man. It's beyond that. I despise that way of thinking. Here they come to run me down. Don't let the bastards grind you
That's
down.
right, Harlow. Watch out. Keep
There
your
used to
head
be
on a
an old man,
swivel,
not an old
Harlow.
man, but there used to be a crazy dude who would come over here. By
Crazy
this fountain
guy, yep.
And give speeches, and I used to come listen to him sometimes. I can't remember exactly what he was talking about now in retrospect.
Oh, I think we
He
get
was,
my
quite, passionate.
my war cry. It's I'm a bad man. I think that's coming up.
Must not have been strictly religious.
So look for that.
Must not have been.
What's up, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be able to bring you up, Jeff. Now I'm probably too high.
Yeah, some crazy person starts yelling at me from behind
I am highly
somewhere in
visual,
here,
so
and then I'm pretty sure that same person actually gets accosted by the causers,
the ones I've been doing down near the hovel,
and is being patted down and borderline searched, perhaps without having consented.
living in the streets, sleeping rough.
Although I guess
Man,
they'll
I've taken
just
a
say
lot
it
of
was a
things over
pat
time.
down,
I've never
right?
cared about
Officer
actually
safety
being
pat
involved
down
in
or
that.
whatever.
I was doing it as a creative, probably doing it, out of a necessity creatively, but with not an understanding of that at the time. Of course, they're all in here somewhere, right? I've got them all up in here.
That's right, partner.
Photography to some extent, while I'm talking
Believe
about
that.
being here. I'm working on getting back in touch with my gratitude, which is a practice.
Yeah, the practice of gratitude, sir. How dare you? How dare you neglect these various practices?
Gratitude is becoming ingrate in various ways. Perhaps it's time he was
Ah, hang with the real ones. Well, if this is that on any level, we'll take it.
Well, thanks. Yeah. Again, Sophia. Yes. Amen, sister. Sophia said, I was just thankful when I woke up and saw you were on here. Sometimes I don't like being alone.
Yeah, social isolation. But I'm also aware, as I'm talking to her about social isolation, I'm already beginning to prepare for this broadcast that I'm doing now. And this is this morning's broadcast. And I did some pre-recorded material in between, 2 different pre-recorded videos at the laundromat. But because of the limitations of my connection, I'm not going to be able to show that to you just now.
A normal function.
Yeah, good times.
More or less normal now, America, as far as I can tell. That's the status quo includes
Yeah, I was already preparing for this broadcast and realizing that, yes, I understand that many people are here in part dealing with necessarily dealing with our, you know, if I can use our collectively in this sense, or many people dealing with their. And if I'm not talking to you, I ain't talking to you. Shout out to AJ Lloyd, one of his favorites. But I think my point is clear as mud, Mr. Benton. Clear as mud.
They are the only ones having any experience being them. Yeah, see, I need a camera person. Y'all need
Yeah, we need a camera person. Just show up one day. School it goes to. Wait till my car's fixed though. Maybe I'll have just maybe on my way to somewhere I can pick up a camera person. Perhaps.
See, I may utilize homelessness as some version of an artist.
But now I'm going to need a camcorder or something. Thinking about a digital still camera. In fact, when I said that I sort of enjoy how shitty the some of the lower forms of like pixelated video, I was looking at this. There's a motion JPEG QuickTime format. Have you guys ever seen this? It's literally called motion. It's QuickTime motion JPEG. And apparently it looks like the major drawback is the audio is trash. So the reality is I've been looking at, the farther I get away from a phone, I'm going to get into the necessity of possibly, recording my audio separately in a digital format and then having to myself or someone I pay perhaps to then put that audio together with the edited video, right? I don't know that I'm set up for such tasks necessarily. Although maybe the built-in camera, the built-in microphone, if I was to get a Sony camcorder, perhaps. And I am looking at the camcorder format and not looking at DSLRs or other formats. I'm doing that on purpose. But some of those old point and shoots that I've been talking about with like 16 megapixel, maybe 12 megapixel, 16 megapixel. Some of those, the earlier ones use that motion JPEG, and that looks kind of interesting. And to actually be able to just carry, instead of a camcorder, have enough spare batteries and media cards. I'd say as long as I wasn't trying to go more than like an hour at a time, because it does say it's got a 2 gig file size limitation. That's, I'm assuming, built into the actual QuickTime motion JPEG format, presumably. Or it could be limitations of whatever file system they're using. Oh, and then, LOL, just Linux things, realizing that the software I use on my system to be able to like create a partition or format a partition, it's called Gparted. Gpartition, but like Gparted. Gpart with an ED. Actually, it would not format to exFAT, which apparently has become like the standard for a lot of like Android phones. If I stick a SD card, a micro SD card in an Android phone, it seems like that's what it uses for the most part. I had to go download an entirely separate. I had to install an entirely separate series of group of utilities, and then just magically now Gparted will format to exFAT. So I thought my hard drive, I had a SSD that I pulled out of an old ThinkPad. I thought the thing was worthless. Turns out it works just fine. In fact, it may end up in my mini PC. I wanted to talk to you about that mini PC, Rob. Are you still here, bro? I think he is. Dude, this one I have is now with a coupon. I looked on Amazon. This one I have is $250 plus tax right now. So there's some deals to be had, man. And then, there's a newer format. I saw the same company, B-Link. They've come out with like newer versions of their own mini PCs. So yeah, man, for not a lot of money, one. Of course, then you're buying your, you're buying your wireless keyboard and mouse separately, if that's, if you choose to go wireless, and then that's better off bought as a set, because I've had a separate wireless mouse, and between me losing the receiver by forgetting to take it out of a ThinkPad that was trash, so I put it in the trash, even though it's supposed to be recycled, right? I understand those dynamics, but it is what it is. What's up, Lloyd? Good to see you, my man. I mentioned you earlier, actually. Said, do you have your Man on the Streets? Yeah, I've got it, man. I'll probably stream all that at some point. I need to go to the library, and I haven't been feeling well, sir, so been experiencing some pretty intense fatigue. I do tend to start my days very early in the morning, and so by the time I'm starting to feel fatigued, the reality is I'm working on about a full 8-hour day as far as being productive, and I'll put that 8 hours up against a lot of folks, although not yours, AJ Lloyd. I'm sure whatever AJ Lloyd squeezes into his 8 or more hours of American capitalism, American style capitalistic productivity. I'm sure he's quite efficient with respect to the amount of fiat. I'm just assuming, and these are compliments. If I sound condescending or sarcastic, that's just how I sound. But yeah, pretty cool background there, buddy. I'm digging the B-roll, man. I think the broadcast is improved in some way, debatably. Although certainly I'm setting my 25 gig hotspot, which sounds like a lot, but ain't. I'm torching it. We've certainly exceeded whatever today's version of that. And see, now I'm back to, I should have, or I could have done an entire month of the Verizon prepaid 4G on my hotspot. I have a physical hotspot, because that's what I'm hotspotted off of right now, is a 4G phone. So on my Verizon, with the hotspot, so it would at least be, I would be able to live stream at least as well as I'm able to live stream right now, which seems like it's decent quality, right? It's okay. It's not great. I'm not a big Dallas guy. I never have been. Like I said, Dallas has improved a lot. So maybe I need to tomorrow, maybe as early as tomorrow, I could certainly when I was traveling around the country living out do that, right? Is one of those places, much like Slab City, that I would hear a lot about. 150 gig is pretty affordable. So we'll see about that. Maybe I'll look into that, perhaps. I don't know. All right, I think I'm going to get out of here. I've done my time for today. Appreciate y'all for being here. It's been real. I feel like I don't have a lot more to give today, to be honest. It's 11. Once we get on the other side of noon, I'm looking to shut it down. Look, I'm starting to think about when can I shut this bad boy down? So that was what I wrote on the notes. What I can do in a given day is, so what I'm able to do and what I'm capable of doing, that's what I do daily. So I've done what I'm capable of doing today. So I'm done for the day. But whatever I choose to add to that, certainly, that's up to me, and that would represent something like a bonus, right? When I say the West is the best, that's also the case with downtowns, but not all of them, because the East Coast has got a lot of cool ones too. So yeah, I shouldn't even say that. But yeah, with some of these folks, especially when the technology is not cooperating. Although on the 4G, I feel like, see, I think I've made an error, and I had an opportunity to time out I had an opportunity to time it out where the month of prepaid hotspot 150 gig would coincide with, although realistically 100 would be plenty, save the $20. But then if one has the opportunity to purchase 50 gig of premium data, why not? For $20, that's a pretty good deal. Then it's like, oh, I need to use up all this data. Yeah, anyway, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Bye.